They lied to you about what makes a great trader, not intentionally. Just, incompletely. They told you about discipline and patience and risk management. All true. All useless without the foundation underneath. The part they don't talk about because it sounds insane until you've lived it. Here are 3 mindsets that separate the survivors from the statistics. And I promise you've never heard them phrased this way. Mindset 1. I am paid to wait, not to trade. Paul Tudor Jones has a quote that everyone butchers. Where you want to be is always in control, never wishing, always trading, and always first and foremost, protecting your ass. Everyone focuses on always trading. They miss always in control. Here's what that actually means in practice. Legendary traders view their default state as not trading. They are paid mentally, they frame it this way, to sit and wait for the moment when the market becomes so obvious that not trading would be stupid. Everyone else has it backwards. They think they're paid to trade, and waiting is the painful part between paydays. That inversion kills them. Marcus spent 7 years trying to become profitable, finally crossed into consistent gains in year 8. Described the shift. I used to wake up thinking, what trades can I find today? Now I wake up thinking, will the market give me my setup today, or will I get paid to do nothing? Most days, I get paid to do nothing. And those are my most profitable days. Wait. Read that again. His most profitable days are the days he doesn't trade, because on those days, he doesn't lose. His capital is preserved. His psychological capital is preserved. His cortisol stays baseline. He's being paid, in preserved resources, to wait for the moment when the edge is so obvious his nervous system doesn't fight him. The math is simple but brutal. If you make 5% on your winning trades, and lose 2% on your losing trades, but you take 3 unnecessary trades per week, trying to stay active, you're giving back 6% weekly to the market as a donation. As a tax for not understanding that waiting is the job. Legendary traders understand something that sounds like a paradox. The less you trade, the more you make. Not because you're lazy, because you're only trading when the edge is undeniable, when the risk-reward is so skewed in your favor that taking the trade is the only rational choice. Everyone else is trading on maybes, on looks goods, on I haven't traded in 3 days and I'm getting antsy. That anxiety, that feeling that you should be trading, is the feeling of your account slowly dying. Mindset 2. My identity is not attached to being right. This one sounds simple. It's not. Every trader says they don't care about being right. They care about being profitable. Then you watch them hold a losing trade for 6 hours because the analysis was solid, and I know I'm right. The analysis was solid. The trade is still losing. These are not contradictory statements. They're just reality. The market doesn't care about your analysis. It cares about flow, about liquidity, about 10,000 variables your chart doesn't show you. Legendary traders have a specific mental framework. They view each trade as a hypothesis test, not a declaration of truth. I hypothesize that price will move up based on XYZ. Let's see if the market agrees. If it doesn't, my hypothesis was wrong. Discard it. Move on. No emotion. No attachment. No revenge trade to prove they were right. Lisa, a trader who survived the 2020 volatility and grew her account 340% that year, keeps a note taped to her monitor. The market is never wrong. I am often early, often late, sometimes right, always uncertain. That last word is the key. Always uncertain. Not as a weakness, as a feature, as the default state of any intelligent observer of a complex system. If you are certain about what the market will do, you are experiencing a cognitive error, not insight. And cognitive errors are expensive. Here's the test. After you close a winning trade, do you feel smart? If yes, you're in danger. Winning should feel lucky, like you happened to be holding the right lottery ticket when the numbers were called. Smart implies you knew what would happen. You didn't. You had an edge. The edge played out. That's all. The traders who feel smart after wins are the same traders who feel stupid after losses. And feeling stupid triggers revenge trades, system modifications, and account death. Legendary traders feel the same after wins and losses. Neutral. Slightly curious. Already thinking about the next hypothesis test. Mindset 3. Losses are information, not failures. This is where it gets uncomfortable. Every trading book tells you to learn from your losses. True. Also useless. Because they don't tell you how to reframe loss in your nervous system, so it stops triggering a threat response. Here's how legendary traders actually think about losses. A loss is not money disappearing. It's money spent on information. You paid $200 to learn that your hypothesis was wrong, or your timing was off, or the market structure shifted. That's not a failure. That's tuition. Would you pay $200 for a course that taught you exactly why your analysis doesn't work in certain market conditions? You just did. The market taught you. You paid. Now extract the lesson and move on. Ray Dalio has a principle: pain plus reflection equals progress. Everyone quotes it. Almost no one does the reflection part, because reflection requires you to sit with the pain instead of running from it. Here's the protocol legendary traders use. After a loss, they don't close the chart and walk away. Too much avoidance. They don't stare at it for an hour replaying every candle. Too much rumination. They do this. Screenshot the trade. Write one sentence. What did the market show me that I didn't see before I entered? File it. Close the laptop. That's it. No emotional processing. No, I'm such an idiot. No, I'll never make that mistake again. Just, what information did I purchase, and what is that information? David, the trader from earlier, has a folder called Tuition. It has 847 screenshots in it. He's paid $127,000 in tuition over 6 years. His account is now worth $890,000. The tuition wasn't waste. It was the price of the education that got him to $890,000. But here's the thing that makes this mindset rare. You have to actually believe this at a cellular level, not just intellectually agree with it. Your amygdala has to stop interpreting loss as danger and start interpreting it as data, and that requires repetition. Lots of it. Hundreds of losses where you do the protocol, extract the information, and move on without drama. Eventually, your nervous system learns. Losses don't kill you, they teach you. And once that rewiring is complete, you can lose without flinching, which means you can take the next trade with full conviction, which means your edge can finally express itself. You know what's funny? Most traders never get here because they can't tolerate enough losses to complete the rewiring. They blow up first, or they quit, or they switch strategies 17 times trying to find the one that doesn't lose. There isn't one. Every strategy loses. The question is, can you extract the information from the loss without your ego turning it into a referendum on your intelligence? Legendary traders can. You're still learning. And the next 3 mindsets are even harder to integrate because they require you to do something that feels completely unnatural. Stop trying to predict the future and start trying to respond to it. But we'll get there. First, you need to understand why your brain is sabotaging you in ways you can't even see yet. Here's what changed for Emma in month 19. Not her strategy, not her risk management, not her screen time, or her journaling, or any of the mechanical things. What changed was how she saw the chart. Before, lines going up or down that she needed to predict. After, a conversation she needed to listen to. That shift, from prediction to observation, is the difference between a trader and a survivor. And it's the foundation for the next 3 mindsets. Mindset 4. The chart is a language, not a fortune teller. Stan Druckenmiller said something in an interview that most people gloss over. The way to build long-term returns is through preservation of capital and home runs. Everyone hears home runs. They miss preservation of capital. Here's what preservation actually means. You don't take a trade unless the chart is telling you something. Not hinting, not suggesting, telling you. And the only way to hear what it's telling you is to stop trying to make it say what you want it to say. This is the hardest perceptual shift in trading. Your brain evolved to find patterns and make predictions. It's doing its job. But the market isn't a pattern. It's a system, with 10,000 participants making decisions based on information you don't have, time horizons you don't share, and incentives you don't understand. You can't predict that. You can only observe it. Legendary traders watch the chart like a biologist watches an organism. Not asking what will it do next, but what is it doing now? What is it telling me about itself? Emma keeps a list of questions she asks before every trade. Is this chart showing strength, or am I hoping it will show strength? Am I seeing a pattern, or am I seeing what I want to see? If I showed this chart to someone with no position, would they see what I'm seeing? That last question is nuclear. Because if the answer is probably not, then you're not reading the chart. You're reading your own hopes onto the chart. And that's not a language. That's a Rorschach test. Here's the practice. For 1 week, open your charts and just describe what you see. Out loud. Price is consolidating near the high. Volume is declining. Buyers are present, but not aggressive. No predictions. No, it's about to break out. Just description. You'll notice something disturbing. Most of the time, the chart isn't telling you anything. It's just moving, randomly, noisily. And your brain is desperate to find meaning in the noise, because doing nothing feels like failure. That desperation is what kills your account. Legendary traders are comfortable with, the chart isn't speaking right now. They close the laptop. Go for a walk, come back in an hour. If it's still not speaking, they do it again. The chart will speak eventually. It always does. But only if you're patient enough to wait for it to say something clear. Mindset 5. I trade market structure, not price. This one is subtle, and most traders never get it. Price is output. Structure is input. When you trade price, you're saying, I think this number will become that number. When you trade structure, you're saying, I see a shift in the relationship between buyers and sellers, and that shift has a statistical tendency to continue for X bars. Same trade, completely different mental framework. And the framework determines whether you can hold through normal volatility or whether you panic exit at the first pullback. George Soros has a concept called reflexivity, the idea that market participants' perceptions affect the market, which affects their perceptions, which affects the market. Everyone nods. No one integrates it. Here's what it means in practice. Structure is the collective psychology of market participants made visible. When you see higher lows and higher highs, you're not seeing a bullish pattern. You're seeing evidence that buyers are increasingly willing to pay higher prices, and sellers are increasingly unable to push price lower. That's structure, and structure persists until it doesn't. Your job is to ride the structure while it persists and exit when it breaks, not when price hits your target. When structure breaks, Michael, 3 blown accounts, now managing $240,000, made this shift in year 4. I stopped looking at price targets entirely. I started looking at structure. Am I still seeing evidence of buyer strength? Yes? Stay in. No? Exit. Doesn't matter if I'm up 1% or 5%. If structure breaks, I'm out. His win rate barely changed. His average win tripled because he stopped exiting at arbitrary price levels and started exiting when the reason for the trade no longer existed. Here's the protocol. Before you enter a trade, write one sentence. I am entering because... Describe the structure. Examples. I am entering because buyers are defending this level aggressively, and sellers are exhausted. I am entering because price broke a consolidation with volume and is now holding above it. I am entering because the market is showing a pattern of respect for this moving average. Now, while you're in the trade, your only job is to watch whether that structure is still true. If it is, hold. If it isn't, exit. Price is noise. Structure is signal. Legendary traders filter out the noise and trade the signal. Mindset 6. My edge is in what I don't do. This is where it gets weird. Most traders think their edge is in what they do, the indicator they use, the pattern they recognize, the entry technique they've perfected. Legendary traders know their edge is in what they don't do. They don't trade during lunch. They don't trade when they're tired. They don't trade when the structure is unclear. They don't trade to make back a loss. They don't trade because they're bored. The list of things they don't do is 10 times longer than the list of things they do. Jesse Livermore said it simply. There is time to go long, time to go short, and time to go fishing. Everyone remembers the fishing part. They forget that fishing is the edge, because while you're fishing, you're not losing, you're not making emotional decisions, you're not burning psychological capital, you're preserving your resources for the moment when the edge is obvious. Sarah grew $7,000 to $89,000 over 4 years, tracked this metric in her journal. Trade opportunities declined. Month 1, declined 3 trades. Month 6, declined 12 trades. Month 12, declined 31 trades. Month 24, declined 48 trades. Her account grew in direct proportion to the number of trades she didn't take, not because she was lazy, because she was selective. And selectivity is the most underrated edge in trading. Here's the exercise. For 1 week, at the end of each day, write down every trade you almost took but didn't. Then, the next day, check what happened to those trades. You'll find something disturbing. Most of them were losers. Your intuition was protecting you, and you didn't even know it. The problem is, you're overriding that intuition with obligation, with the feeling that you should be trading, because that's what traders do. Legendary traders have no such obligation. They trade when the edge is present. They fish when it's not. And fishing, doing nothing, waiting, preserving, is the highest paid skill in the market. You want to know the real secret? The legendary traders aren't legendary because they found some magic pattern no one else knows. They're legendary because they have the psychological capacity to not trade for weeks at a time while everyone else is frantically clicking buttons trying to make something happen. They're getting paid to fish. You're paying rent to the market. And the gap between those two states is built on the next set of mindsets, the ones about control, uncertainty, and what it means to actually have an edge in a system designed to take money from people who think they're smarter than they are. Here's the moment Jake broke. Not his account. His belief system. He'd been trading for 3 years, consistently profitable for 6 months. Then, one day, he took a trade. Perfect setup, perfect entry, perfect risk management. The market went against him immediately, stopped him out, then went exactly where he thought it would go. Without him, he sat there staring at the chart for 40 minutes. Not angry, not frustrated, just confused. Because he'd done everything right and still lost. That's when he understood. Control is an illusion, and the traders who survive are the ones who stop chasing it. Mindset 7. I control the process, not the outcome. Ed Seykota said, the elements of good trading are 1. Cutting losses, 2. Cutting losses, and 3. Cutting losses. If you can follow these 3 rules, you may have a chance. Everyone reads that as risk management advice. It's not. It's a statement about control. The only thing you can control in trading is when you exit a losing trade. You can't control whether the trade wins. You can't control whether the market respects your analysis. You can't control anything except your own behavior. And even that is harder than it sounds. Legendary traders have a specific mental model. They visualize themselves as an experiment designer, not a fortune teller. They don't ask, will this trade win? They ask, did I follow my process? If yes, the trade was successful regardless of outcome. If no, the trade was a failure regardless of outcome. This inversion is psychologically brutal, because it means you can execute perfectly and lose. And you can execute poorly and win. And your brain hates this. Your brain wants the world to be fair. Good process equals good outcome. The market doesn't care what your brain wants. Jake started tracking process adherence score instead of P&L. Each trade got a score from 1 1-0 based on how well he followed his system. His only goal was to keep the average score above 8. Some weeks he was up money with a score of 6, got lucky. Some weeks he was down money with a score of 9, got unlucky. But over 6 months, his average score climbed to 8.7, and his account climbed 34%, not because the score caused the profit, because the score kept him focused on the only thing he could control, his behavior. And when your behavior is consistent, your edge expresses itself. When your behavior is chaotic, chasing control over outcomes, your edge drowns in noise. The practice: after every trade, don't write won $200 or lost $150. Write process score 8. Followed entry rules, held through normal volatility, exited at structure break. The money is a byproduct. The process is the job. Mindset 8. Uncertainty is the default state, not a problem to solve. This might be the hardest mindset to integrate. Your entire education system trained you to find the answer. Math has right answers. History has agreed upon facts. Science has reproducible results. Trading has none of that. Trading has probabilities. And probabilities mean uncertainty is built into the fabric of the game. You can have a 70% win rate and lose 7 times in a row, not because your system is broken, because that's how probability works. But your brain doesn't understand probability at a gut level. Your brain thinks, if I lost 7 times, something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. You're just experiencing normal variance. Legendary traders have made peace with this. Not intellectually. Everyone understands variance intellectually, emotionally. Their nervous system has learned to tolerate uncertainty without interpreting it as danger. Nicholas Taleb writes about this in Anti-Fragile. Systems that try to eliminate uncertainty become fragile. Systems that embrace uncertainty become robust. You can't eliminate uncertainty in trading. You can only build a system that functions despite uncertainty. Here's what that looks like. Amanda trades a system with a 60% win rate. She expects to lose 4 out of every 10 trades. When she loses, her first thought isn't, what did I do wrong? It's, this is trade number 3 of my expected 4 losses this week. That reframe is everything, because now the loss isn't a problem. It's an expected event within the probability distribution of her system, and expected events don't trigger threat responses. The protocol: before you start trading each week, write down the expected number of losses based on your win rate and trade frequency. Then, as you lose, check them off. Expected losses, 4. Current losses, 2. Remaining, 2. This sounds robotic. It is. That's the point. You're training your nervous system to see losses as normal, not as evidence that you're failing. And once losses feel normal, you can take the next trade with full conviction, which is the only way the edge expresses itself. Mindset 9. My worst trades follow my best trades. This one is pattern recognition at the meta level. Every trader has experienced this. You have a massive win. You feel invincible. You take the next trade with total confidence. It's a disaster. Legendary traders know this pattern intimately, and they've built defenses against it. The mechanism is simple. A big win floods your brain with dopamine. Dopamine feels good. Your brain wants more, so it starts seeking the next opportunity aggressively. And aggression in trading is fatal. You stop being selective. You stop waiting for your setup. You start seeing setups where they don't exist, because your brain is hunting for the next dopamine hit. George Soros has a rule. After a big win, he reduces his position size for the next 3 trades. Not because he's suddenly worse at trading, because he knows his brain is compromised by success. The neuroscience backs this up. Dopamine doesn't just make you feel good. It makes you impulsive. It lowers your threshold for action, which is great for a caveman hunting for food, terrible for a trader who needs to wait for specific setups. Marcus, the trader who finally broke into profitability in year 8, has a protocol. After any trade that makes more than 3% of his account, he closes his laptop for 24 hours. Doesn't chart, doesn't scan, doesn't plan, just stops. He calls it integration time. His brain needs time to process the win, clear the dopamine, and return to baseline before he trusts himself to make the next decision. His win rate on trades taken immediately after big wins, 31%. His win rate on trades taken 24 plus hours after big wins, 58%. Same trader. Same setups. Different neurochemical state. The hardest part of this mindset is that it feels wrong. You just won. You're in the zone. You're seeing the market clearly. Why would you stop now? Because you're not seeing the market clearly. You're seeing what you want to see, filtered through a dopamine-soaked perception system that's optimized for reward seeking, not accuracy. The practice: set a rule. After any trade that exceeds 2% gain, wait at least 12 hours before taking another trade. Use that time to journal, review, process. Let your nervous system return to neutral. Legendary traders know the market will still be there tomorrow. The opportunity you think you're missing right now is probably a trap your brain is constructing to feed its dopamine addiction. It's almost funny how many traders blow up right after their best trade. They think they've figured it out. They think they're finally there. They're not there. They're just high. And trading while high, on dopamine, on confidence, on the feeling of invincibility, is no different than trading while drunk. You wouldn't trade drunk, stop trading high. The next 3 mindsets are about something even harder to integrate: how to think about money itself. Because the way you think about money determines whether you can hold a winner, cut a loser, and sleep at night. And most traders think about money in ways that guarantee failure. Here's what broke Rachel's trading psychology. Not a big loss, a big win. She took a trade. It went her direction. She was up $2,400. Then it pulled back. She panicked, closed the trade at +$100. The trade continued without her and would have hit +$800. She didn't sleep for 2 nights, not because she lost money, because she lost $4,700 in potential profit. Money that was never hers. Money that only existed in her imagination. And yet her brain treated it as a real loss. That's when she realized the way she thought about money was destroying her ability to trade. Mindset 10. Unrealized profit is not mine until it's realized. This sounds obvious. It's not. Every trader knows intellectually that an open trade's profit isn't real until you close it. But your brain doesn't process it that way. Your brain sees +$400 on the screen and immediately starts spending it. New laptop, dinner out, proof that you're finally making it. Then the trade pulls back to +$800 and your brain experiences loss aversion. You just lost $1,600, except you didn't. You never had it. But your amygdala doesn't care about technicalities. It registered the $2,400, then registered the reduction, and interpreted it as a threat. So you close the trade early to lock in profit, to escape the psychological pain of watching it fluctuate. Legendary traders have completely rewired this response. Linda Raschke said in an interview, "I don't count my money until the trade is closed, and I've walked away from the screen. Until then, it's just pixels. Just pixels. Not my money that the market might take away. Pixels. That reframe is surgical. Because pixels have no emotional weight, you can watch pixels change without your nervous system activating." Rachel built a practice around this. She put a post-it note on her monitor that said, "Not yours yet." Every time she looked at an open P&L, she read the note. Out loud. Not yours yet. For the first 2 weeks, it felt stupid, like a child's affirmation. Then, one day, she was in a trade, up $1,800, and it pulled back to +$400. She looked at the note, said the words, and felt nothing. No panic, no urge to close. Just, not mine yet. Let it play out. The trade closed at +$100. She didn't feel smart. She felt relieved. Relieved that her brain had finally stopped confusing unrealized profit with owned profit. The neuroscience here is brutal. Your brain releases dopamine based on expected reward, not actual reward. When you see +$400, your brain releases dopamine, as if you already have the money. When it drops to +$800, your brain experiences the dopamine crash, as if you lost money. You're on a neurochemical roller coaster, and it's happening entirely in your imagination. Legendary traders stay flat. They don't celebrate unrealized profit. They don't mourn unrealized loss. They wait until the trade is closed, the money is in the account, and then they allow themselves to feel something. And even then, they feel less than you'd expect. Mindset 11. My account balance is a tool, not a scorecard. This is the one that separates professionals from addicts. Most traders check their account balance multiple times per day. Every check is a hit of dopamine, if up, or cortisol if down. They're not trading the market. They're trading their emotional state. Legendary traders check their account balance once per week, some once per month, not because they don't care about money, because they understand that the account balance is a lagging indicator of process quality. It tells you what happened, not what's happening. And what happened is irrelevant to the decision you need to make right now. Bruce Kovner, made billions at Caxton Associates, described his relationship with money this way. My account is a number that tells me if I'm following my process. It's not a measure of my worth or intelligence. It's a measure of process consistency over time. That's it. Not, I made money, I'm a genius. Not, I lost money, I'm an idiot. Just, this number reflects my process execution over the past X trades. David, who rebuilt from $5,000 to $127,000 over 4 years, hit his account balance. Literally. He wrote a script that blocked the display of his total account value on his trading platform. He could see his per trade P&L, but not his total. For 3 months, he had no idea if he was up or down overall. At the end of month 3, he checked. Up 11%. But here's what was more interesting. His behavior had changed. He wasn't taking trades to get back to break even because he didn't know where break even was. He wasn't taking trades to hit a goal because he didn't know how close to the goal he was. He was just executing his system every day. No emotional weight attached to the outcome. His win rate didn't change. His average win didn't change. His frequency didn't change. But his consistency skyrocketed because he'd removed the variable that was causing all his behavioral volatility, knowing his score while the game was still playing. Imagine a basketball player who checked the scoreboard after every shot. Made one? Feels great. Missed one? Panic. Made another? Relief. Their performance would be a disaster because their emotional state is oscillating wildly based on a lagging indicator. Legendary traders play the game, then check the score, then adjust the process if needed, then play the game again. The score in the middle is irrelevant. The practice. Choose a frequency for checking your account balance. Once per week minimum, once per month ideal. Set a calendar reminder. Don't check between reminders. Your brain will scream at you. It will tell you that you need to know. You don't. You need to execute your process. The balance is just the output of that execution. And the less you obsess over the output, the better the output becomes. Here's what happened in year 6 for Tom. He stopped caring. Not about trading, about being a trader. He woke up, did his routine, checked his charts, took a trade if his setup appeared, closed the laptop, went to the gym, had lunch, lived his life. Somewhere in that process, trading stopped being his identity and started being a job. A job he was good at, a job that paid well, but just a job. And the moment it became just a job, he became exceptional at it. Mindset 12. I am not a trader. I am a person who trades. This is the final mindset. The one that integrates all the others. The traders who blow up are the ones whose entire identity is wrapped up in trading. When they lose, they don't just lose money. They lose their sense of self. When they win, they don't just make money. They feel validated as human beings. That's not trading. That's addiction. Legendary traders maintain separation between who they are and what they do. They are parents, partners, hobbyists, athletes, humans who also trade. Trading is an activity. It's not an identity. Peter Brandt, been trading for 45 plus years, said something in an interview that most people missed. I'm a farmer who trades. Trading funds the farm. The farm is the life. Trading is the tool. The farm is the life. Trading is the tool. That inversion is everything. Because if trading is the tool, then losing a trade is just a broken hammer. You don't have an existential crisis about a broken hammer. You replace it and keep working. But if trading is your identity, then losing a trade is you breaking. Your worth breaking. Your intelligence breaking. And you can't function like that. Tom made this shift accidentally. He started rock climbing. Got obsessed with it. Joined a gym. Made friends. Started planning climbing trips. And somewhere in that process, when people asked what he did, he started saying, I climb and trade, instead of, I'm a trader. Small linguistic shift. Massive psychological impact. Because now, when he lost a trade, it didn't touch his core identity. He was still Tom the climber. Tom the friend. Tom the guy planning a trip to Yosemite. Trading was just one of the things he did, not the only thing. His win rate didn't change after the shift. His ability to hold winners doubled. His ability to cut losers tripled. His account grew 67% that year. Same trader, same system, different relationship with the activity. The synthesis, how the 12 mindsets interconnect. Here's what you need to understand. These aren't 12 separate mindsets. They're 12 facets of one unified psychological framework. You're paid to wait. 1, because your edge is in what you don't do. 6, you're not attached to being right. 2, because you control process, not outcome. 7, losses are information. 3, because uncertainty is the default state. 8, the chart is a language. 4, because you trade structure, not price. 5, your worst trades follow your best. 9, because unrealized profit isn't yours yet. 10, your account is a tool. 11, because you're a person who trades. 12, not a trader who exists. It's not a list. It's a system, and the system only works when all the parts are integrated. Emma, who shifted from prediction to observation in month 19, is now in year 7. Her account started at $8,000. It's now worth $310,000. She doesn't trade every day. Some weeks, she takes 2 trades. Some weeks, she takes 0. She checks her balance once per month. She has hobbies outside trading. She sleeps 8 hours. She's not a legendary trader. She's just a person who integrated 12 mindsets and stopped fighting her own psychology. And that's the secret. If there is one, legendary traders aren't superhuman. They're just ordinary people who stopped doing the things that destroy ordinary traders. They stopped trying to predict. They stopped attaching to outcomes. They stopped confusing activity with productivity. They stopped treating trading like an identity instead of a skill. They became boring. And boring in trading is legendary. The final practice, the weekly integration review every Sunday. Tom sits down with a notebook, not his trading journal, a different notebook. He calls it his integration journal. He writes 1 sentence for each mindset. How many trade opportunities did I decline this week? Did I hold any losing trades because I knew I was right? What information did I purchase with my losses? Did I try to predict, or did I observe and respond? Did I trade structure or price? What trades did I not take that would have been losses? What was my process adherence score? Did I panic during normal variance? Did I trade aggressively after a big win? Did I count unrealized profit as real? How many times did I check my account balance? Did I let trading define my worth this week? He doesn't judge the answers. He just writes them, reads them, notices patterns. And over time, the mindsets integrate, not through force, through noticing. You can't force yourself to not care about being right, but you can notice when you're holding a loser because of ego. And noticing is the first step toward changing. You can't force yourself to see the chart as a language, but you can notice when you're making predictions instead of observations. And noticing is the first step toward shifting. The 12 mindsets aren't goals to achieve, they're lenses to adopt. And you adopt them the same way you'd learn a new language. Immersion, repetition, patience. Emma still catches herself trying to predict sometimes. She laughs, closes the chart, comes back later. Tom still checks his balance between his monthly reviews sometimes. He notices, closes the app, goes back to his life. Rachel still feels the pull of unrealized profit sometimes. She reads the post-it note, breathes, lets the trade play out. They're not perfect. They're just aware. And awareness, applied consistently over years, becomes mastery, not mastery of the market. You'll never master the market. Mastery of yourself. And mastery of yourself, in a game played against your own psychology, is the only edge that matters. Michael, 3 blown accounts, finally profitable in year 4, managing $240,000 in year 9, did something strange last month. He stopped trading for 3 weeks, not because he was losing, not because he was burned out, because the market stopped speaking his language. The structure he trades disappeared, and instead of forcing trades, he just waited. 3 weeks, no trades, no stress, no checking charts every hour hoping to find something. He went to the beach with his kids, read 4 books, fixed the fence in his backyard, lived his life. On day 22, his alert went off. His structure was back. He took the trade, made $4,700, closed the laptop. And here's the thing that would have broken the old Michael. During those 3 weeks of not trading, his account technically grew because it didn't lose, because preservation is profitability. He got paid to fish. And he finally understood legendary trading isn't about finding the secret pattern or the magic indicator or the perfect risk-reward ratio. It's about becoming the kind of person who can not trade for 3 weeks while everyone else is frantically clicking buttons. It's about becoming the kind of person who can lose 7 times and take trade 8 with the same conviction as trade 1. It's about becoming the kind of person who checks their balance once per month and feels nothing. It's about becoming boring, patient, detached, process-focused, and humble. And those aren't trading skills. Those are life skills that happen to make you exceptionally good at trading.